To follow along with the written version of this pattern and download the printable PDF, check out the link in the description below, on screen now, or by going to clubcrochet.com/witchhat. Hey there, it's Louie with a new addition to my miniature hat collection. As you can see, we've done a bunch of different kinds of hats, including a top hat, a little sailor hat, a chef hat, and a pirate hat. I think pirate hat's my favorite and most recent one. If you want to check out all those hat patterns, check it out at clubcrochet.com/hat. But in this video, we're going to be making the newest addition, a little witch hat. And I'll be teaching you a bunch of different techniques for this, including how to make it basic with no color changes, how to do a few different ways to make this stripe and the buckle on the front, and all around just how to crochet a witch hat. All right, well, let's get these guys out of the way. Again, you can check out all these hat patterns in my YouTube channel or at clubcrochet.com/hat. And make sure to subscribe and like and blah, blah, blah. Okay, well, without further ado, let's talk about all the materials that you need. For this pattern, I'm going to be using all worsted weight yarn in 100% cotton. You'll need your main color. Usually I use black, but for this video, I'm going to be using brown because it's a little bit easier to see in the video. You'll also need a color for the stripe. Usually I use purple for that. And a color for the buckle. In this case, it'll be gold. Because I'm using all worsted weight yarn, I'll be using a size G 4mm crochet hook, a darning needle to help sew in the ends. I suggest using a little crimped end like that. It helps you get in and out of hard to reach stitches. And of course, you'll need a pair of scissors. You won't need any stuffing or safety eyes or anything like that for this video. And while I'm going, if you like to jump to specific parts of this pattern or jump back to get extra help, use the time codes in the description down below. I also have time codes on the PDF as well as interactable check marks that will help you keep track of progress if you're having a little bit more difficulty. Okay, but we're going to go pretty slowly for this pattern, and obviously we're going to start by just making the hat itself. Okay, so like I said, we're going to be using brown instead of black for this tutorial, just because it's a little bit easier to see in the video. And we're going to start with the magic loop. Now, if you've never made the magic loop before and would like a more detailed tutorial than I will be doing in this video, I'll put a link right here and in the description to my magic loop video that goes into a lot more detail and a few different ways to make it. But a really quick tutorial, hold the yarn facing downward with your middle and thumb pinching it. Go around your index finger and middle finger and then back around the yarn to make an X, and then back straight down to make 2 parallel lines on the back and an X on the front. Then take this end and place it in between your ring and pinky finger like this and hold it down like that. Then take your crochet hook, turn it around so that the back 2 parallel bars are facing you. Take your crochet hook and go under the first bar and yarn over the second one and pull that under the first one like so, and then turn it around like that to make a little loop. See how we got a little loop there? Then we're going to go over that first bar and yarn over with the same end like that, and then hook it onto your crochet hook, and then we're going to slip it under this loop to make a chain like that. I suggest using a kind of a scoop like that to help it get in under there. And that's going to create a little chain which will lock your yarn in place, and you can pull it off of your finger. And again, I go into a lot more detail on the magic loop and different ways in that magic loop video that you can find in the description. Okay, so now we have a little magic loop, and when I pull this tail end, it'll pull this circle a little bit tighter. So we're going to work all of our first stitches in round 1 into the center of this magic loop. So we're going to start by single crocheting 3 times into the magic loop. So pretty easy. We're going to take your crochet hook, go under the 2 bars here in the magic loop into the very center of the circle, yarn over with the end attached to the ball of yarn, hook it and pull it under, then yarn over again going over the circle, and pull through these 2 loops to create a single crochet. Now this pattern is going to be made almost primarily of single crochet stitches. So once you do that, that is your main stitch for this entire pattern. Okay, so we're going to be doing 3 of those single crochets into this first round. So there's our first one. Let's do another one. Go into the loop, yarn over and pull under the loop, then go over it, yarn over and pull through the 2 loops on the hook. There is our second single crochet. We'll do one more. Into the hole, yarn over and pull through, go over, yarn over and pull through the 2 loops on the hook for your last single crochet. Now you should have 3 single crochets now. You can see these little V's when you face it towards you. See these little V's? That's the easiest way to count it. We'll count the V's. So 1, 2, 3. 3 single crochets. Now into the next round, we're going to be working into either both loops or the back loop or the front loop throughout this pattern. We're going to be switching it up in different parts to make the shape better. So as I'm going through, I'm going to be showing you really quick before I get to the next round what is the front loop and the back loop. So under both of these loops, when we work into it, if we're working under both of these loops with the crochet hook like this needle is, that'll be called working under both loops. If we're working only into this back one, the one furthest away from us right here, that'll be called working into the back loop only. And working into the front loop only would be working under only this one. And working our stitches into those perspective loops will make the rounds move and skew in certain ways to help us get a specific shape for our pattern. Okay, so now that we got round 1 and our single crochets done, we can pull this magic loop end right here and it should tighten the hole like so. Okay. Now I'm going to be using a spare bit of yarn for our stitch marker for this pattern. I'm just going to be using our purple yarn since I already have it present. You don't need very much, just about that long should be fine. We'll cut a very short end. And we're just going to be using this to keep track of the end of our rounds because this pattern is going to be worked in a spiral without ever turning. So you never have to turn around for this pattern. Okay, so what we're going to do for round 2 is we're going to take our crochet hook and give ourselves a little bit of extra end here for this loop. See, so we get a little bit more movement with our crochet hook. And we're going to go into the back loop only of the first single crochet that we made in our last round. So we count backwards, 1, 2, 3. We find that first single crochet that we made, and we want to work only into that back loop. Now before I do that, I'm going to take our loop, our stitch counter right there. We're going to place it in between the yarn like that and just hold it down in place so that way we can crochet around it for our first stitch. We're going to hold all these 3 ends here and keep them out of our way. And we're just going to pretend that's not there and work around it. Okay, so find our first single crochet. That's going to be right there. We're going to take your crochet hook with a big extra loop. We're going to go into the back loop only for your first stitch. So only work into the back loop. Okay, so this would be working into both loops. Do not do this for the first stitch. We'll be doing this for the other stitches, but not the first one. For the first stitch, we only want to work into that loop right there. That's our back loop. Okay, once you're into that loop, you can pull your yarn a little tighter to tighten up the loop. And we're going to do a single crochet into that loop. We're actually going to be doing an increase, which means 2 single crochets. So let's do our first single crochet. We're going to yarn over, pull through that loop. We're going to yarn over again and pull through the 2 loops on the hook to make our first single crochet. Now, like I said, that's going to be an increase stitch for that first one. So see where that is, see how that's getting pulled open right there? Let's see a little hole. We're going to do another single crochet into that same hole right here, which will make an increase or 2 single crochets into the same stitch. So we're going to do a second single crochet. There's 1 and 2. Okay, so there's our first increase into the same stitch, working in the back loop only. Now for the rest of this round, we're only going to work into both loops for the next 2 stitches, and we're just going to do 1 single crochet into both of the next stitches. Now I know it looks kind of weird, but the next stitch actually, so if you pull this over right here, the next stitch is going to be right there. Let me grab my needle here. The start of this pattern is a little bit more tricky, but once we get going, it'll become a lot more easy. So we're going to work under both of these loops here for the next stitch, not only in the back loop. So sometimes I like to get my needle to give me a spot so I know exactly where the crochet hook is going to go, and I just follow the crochet hook as I pull it. Oops. Well, normally that works like that. Okay, so we're going to do a single crochet into that next stitch under both of those loops. So pull a loop through and then yarn over and pull through both for our single crochet. Then we're going to go into the next one right here. That's going to be the last stitch, and we're going to go under both loops again. Find that V there, and go under both of them like that, and do another single crochet. So we yarn over, pull through both loops, pull it a little tighter, and then yarn over and pull through both for our last single crochet. And again, to review that round 2 there, it was an increase into the back loop only of the first stitch, and then a single crochet into the next 2 stitches working into both loops. And you can see this looks really weird and tiny, but it's going to make a really nice point at the top of our witch hat, which will be really nice. Okay, so now I'm going to pull this yarn up a little bit and pull it over for our little stitch marker. We're going to pretend that's not there at all. Get our loop out there. And we're going to start round 3. For round 3, we're going to be working into both loops for the entire rest of this round. In fact, we're going to be working into both loops for a majority of the remainder of the round. So I would say for the next 9 rounds, we'll be working into both loops. So don't worry about going into the back loop only. So we're going to start into our first stitch right here, working around our stitch marker, and we're going to do a single crochet into the first stitch. So we're going to yarn over, pull through, then yarn over, and pull through 2. Okay, pull our stitch marker a little bit. And then we're going to do an increase into the next stitch. So there's our first stitch, next stitch will be right there. Okay, so just follow where that V is going and find the next one by just going over one right there. Okay, make sure you're under both of those loops. And we're going to do an increase into that stitch, meaning 2 single crochets into the same stitch. We'll pull through 2. And then we're going to go into the same spot. You see where that V is pulling a little hole there? We're going to go into the same space and do another single crochet for an increase. Pull through and pull through 2. So single crochet in the first, increase in the next. And we're going to repeat that one more time. So we're going to do a single crochet into the next stitch right here under both loops, 1 single crochet, and then into the next stitch right here, we're going to do another increase or 2 single crochets into the same stitch. There's 1 single crochet into the same stitch. There is our second single crochet for our second increase. And this should bring you up from 4 stitches in our last round to now you should have 6 stitches around. Now if we want to count our stitches, let's grab our needle here so I can show you. If we want to count our stitches around, find where this loop is coming out, and that will be our first stitch. And we'll go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Move that stitch marker over. That's going to be 6. We'll be right there. That'll be our first stitch in our next round. Okay, so we're going to pull. Let's get our crochet hook back in there. And we're going to pull our stitch marker over like that. So we work around it, and we're just going to ignore it completely. And that's just going to keep us in track of our rounds. And so our next round, we are on round 4. For this round, we're just going to do a single crochet into each stitch. So pretty easy. We're just going to go all the way around, working 1 single crochet into all the stitches around. So there's 1, and there should be 6 total. This will be the next one. There is 2. 3. And again, don't forget we're working into both of those loops. 4. 5. And 6. And that'll be the end of that round. Just 6 single crochets all the way around. Now these 2 tail ends right here, this is from the end of our little stitch marker yarn, and this is from the very center of our piece. We don't really need these at all. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to cut them nice and close. We're just going to get them out of our way. We don't need them. Okay. Now we're going to pull our stitch marker over, and we are on round 5. Oopsies. There we go. Let's get some extra yarn here. Okay. So for the next round, round 5, we're going to do an increase into the first 2 stitches and then single crochets into the rest of them. So we're going to go into this first one right here where the stitch marker is coming out. We're going to do an increase or 2 single crochets into that same stitch. So that'll be 1. We're going to go into the same stitch, 2. There's our first increase, and then another increase into the next one right here. 1 and 2 for our second increase, or our 4th stitch total. And then single crochets into the remainder of the stitches. There should be 4 more single crochets. So we're just going to do 1 single crochet into the next 4 stitches. So there's 1, 2, 3. This will be the last one right here. That'll be 4. Okay, so now you should have 8 stitches around if you wanted to count. You can see this is becoming a lot more manageable, and you can see our little curve in our hat that we've made. See? Okay, so let's pull our stitch marker up, and we are on round 6. For round 6, we're going to do a single crochet into our first stitch right here. Just 1 single crochet in the first one. And then we're going to do our 2 increases in a row. So here's our first increase right here, meaning 2 single crochets in the same stitch. There's 1 and 2 for our first increase, another increase, 1 and 2. Okay, so we have done 5 stitches total because we did 1 single crochet and then 2 increases in a row. Now we just need single crochets for the remainder of the stitches. There should be 5 more stitches in this round. And this is going to bring you up from 8 stitches from our last round to 10 stitches by the end of this round. If you need extra help throughout this, make sure to comment down below or go to our Discord channel at clubcrochet.com/discord where we are to help out with extra questions. We also have a Facebook group that does the same thing. You can learn all about all that at clubcrochet.com. Okay, so that shall be the end of the round. Shall be. Sounds so formal. That shall be the end of the round. All right, so now we are on to round 7. In round 7, we're going to do 2 single crochets and then do our 2 increases in a row. So 2 single crochets. Here's our first one. There's 1, 2, and then an increase into the next 2 stitches. So here's our first increase, 1 and 2, and then our next increase into the next stitch, 1 and 2. And then we'll just do a single crochet till we get to the end of the round, just like how we did in the last rounds. This time there should be 6 single crochets to get to the end of the round. And you should go up from 10 stitches to 12 stitches. So you should have 12 stitches by the end of this round. Go, and here is our last single crochet at the end of that round. That'll be the end of round 7. For round 8, we're going to pull the stitch marker up, and we're going to do a different kind of technique here. So we're going to be doing, instead of doing our 2 increases in a row, we're going to do a repeat that we repeat 3 times in a row. So the repeat is, we're going to do 3 single crochets and then an increase, and then we're going to repeat that all the way, continually doing it till we get to the end of the round. 3 repeats total. So let's do our first repeat. 3 single crochets, 1, 2, 3, and then an increase. 1 and 2. And we're going to repeat that process 3 times total. So 3 single crochets, then an increase. Let's do our second repeat. 1, 2, 3 single crochets, and then an increase. 1 and 2. Get them a little bit more yarn. Let's do our last repeat. 3 single crochets. 1, 2, 3, and then our increase. 1 and 2. That should bring you up to 15 stitches around, and that is the end of round 8. For round 9, we'll pull our stitch marker up here, and we're going to do we're going to do another repeat that's almost the same thing. This time we're going to do 4 single crochets and then an increase, repeated 3 times in a row. So let's do our first repeat. 4 single crochets, 1, 2, 3, 4, and then our increase. 1 and 2. And repeat that process 3 times total. So let's do our second repeat, 4 single crochets, and then an increase. And this is going to bring you up from 15 stitches to 18 stitches by the end of this round. So by the end of round 9 here, you should have 18 stitches around. Increase, and then our last repeat, 4 single crochets, and then an increase. And if you like this video, please like it down below. It helps spread awareness to this channel. And then also, if you're not yet, make sure to subscribe down below. We do live crochet alongs where I crochet with you and we make something together every week. And then I come out with new tutorials like this as much as I possibly can. Okay, so that's going to be the end of this round. That is going to be the end of round 9. Now we're on to round 10. Now round 10 is where we're going to be able to do some color changes so we can make a stripe in our piece. So we're going to grab our purple yarn here, and I'm going to show you how to do this stripe via color changes first, but you don't have to do that. There's a few different techniques that we can do. So the first way is our color changes. Where is my, there it is. This hat is done by making color changes, and you can see it kind of makes a little like weird ridging thing. So it may not be the best process for you if you want a very, very clean stripe. But it's not too bad. I really like it. And this is a lot easier, in my opinion, than sewing it on. But you can sew it on, and I will show you how to sew it on at the end of this video using this blank witch hat that I have here. But for this part, I'm going to be showing you how to do the color changes. Now, if you don't want to do the color changes, then just disregard any of the color changes that I'm talking about, and instead just do this round without changing colors at all. Now, if you do want to make it without color changes, this round is much like the last round, but instead of doing 4 single crochets, then an increase, we're going to do 5 single crochets and then an increase. So 5 single crochets, increase, repeated 3 times around, bringing you up from 18 stitches to 21 stitches at the end of this round. But I am going to be doing our color changes, so we're going to grab our purple yarn here. And I'm actually going to ignore this, my end here for the stripe, just because it's purple and I realize we're going to be using purple. And I think as long as we follow this line up, we can find the end of our round. So I'm going to pull this last stitch out to get started on our color changes. I'm going to grab my new color, and I'm just going to crochet around this new color for our last stitch here. So just crochet around it once, like that, to lock it into place. And then I'm going to do something that I call the perfect stripe method. If you haven't seen my video for perfect stripe method, check it out right here. It is a really in-depth tutorial where it teaches you how to make the most clean stripes as possible. And there is a cleaner stripe than the one I'll be teaching you in this video, but it takes a little bit more work. So I'm not going to be doing it. I'm just going to be doing the simplified simple stripe method. So for that, we're going to slip stitch into the next stitch using our main color, our brown here. We're just going to slip stitch into the next stitch over my purple yarn, like that. And then I'm going to change to purple. So I'm going to hold under in between the yarn with my index finger of my non-dominant hand. And I'm going to flip it under like that, and then yarn over with our new color and pull it through the loop on the hook to make a chain. Now for this round, again, the pattern is 5 single crochets and then an increase, repeated all the way around. But we're going to be doing weird color changes, so I'm going to be doing some weird stuff as I go here, and I'm going to be doing half color changes. For a half color change, I'm going to flip back under so that my old color, brown, is under or over the new color, purple. And I'm going to go into the same stitch that you just made a slip stitch into right here, yarn over with our old color brown, pull through, and then switch back over to purple. So I'm going to go hold my index finger in between the two ends, flip it under like so, yarn over with the new color, and pull through the two loops on the hook to change to purple. And this way, we're going to be doing that throughout this entire round. All of our single crochets are going to be doing that, done in that same technique. And this will make the top of our stitches purple and the bottom of our stitches brown to make a very clean stripe at the top. So let's do another one right here. Next stitch is going to be another single crochet. So we're going to flip under so that brown's on top, go into the next stitch, yarn over, pull through, switch back over to purple, yarn over, and pull through 2 with purple. There's our second single crochet. And again, we're doing 5 single crochets and then an increase. So 1, 2, flip over to brown, into the stitch, pull through with brown, switch back over to purple, yarn over with purple, and pull through with purple. There's 3 single crochets, and it's really easy to count our stitches this time because you can just count the purple at the top. So there's 1, 2, 3, back over to brown, into the stitch, pull through, switch over to purple, yarn over, pull through with purple. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, switch over to brown, into the stitch and pull through, switch back over to purple, and pull through 2 with purple. So there's our 5 single crochets, and then we're going to do an increase into the next stitch. So that means 2 in the same stitch. And we're going to do the same color change method. Switch over to brown, into the stitch, pull through with brown, switch out back over to purple, yarn over, pull through with purple. I'm doing an increase, so we need another one in the same stitch, brown, and purple. Okay, now we want to do one more stitch in this purple brown, and then we're going to do 3 stitches in all brown after that. And this is going to create a little gap for our buckle to be sewn on afterwards. So one more single crochet in this brown color. So we're going to switch over to brown, switch back over to purple, and pull through 2. Oh, I'm sorry, don't pull through 2 with purple. Now we're going to pull through with brown. Okay, so let me repeat that for people that might have just gotten lost. So we did our first repeat of doing 5 single crochets and then an increase. And then we did one more single crochet, all of which have the purple at the top. And then we switched over so it's all brown. We're going to do our next 3 single crochets in all brown. Now we can skip this purple yarn. So what I like to do is pull it off to the side so that I don't crochet around it too much and the yarn color doesn't bleed through. So I'm just going to pull through over to the side, holding it down with my index of my dominant hand. And we're going to do 3 single crochets in our brown. So there's 1, 2, and then 3. And then we're going to grab our purple back over, hold it in between with your non-dominant index finger and flip it under so the purple's on top, yarn over, and pull through 2 with purple. Pull that brown a little tighter. Okay, so now we're going to continue for the rest of this round doing the purple on top, brown on the bottom. And we have our second repeat here. So we did our first repeat, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 single crochets, and then an increase. And then we want to do the same repeat 3 times total. So let's our second repeat is 1, 2, 3, 4. So we have 1 more single crochet and then an increase. Again, we're continuing in all the purple at the top. So switch over to brown, into the next stitch, pull through with brown, switch back over to purple, yarn over, and pull through 2 with purple, and then an increase into the next stitch. So 2 single crochets, both of which have the brown on bottom and purple on top. There's 1, and into the same stitch, there is 2. Okay, now one last repeat of 5 single crochets and then an increase, all of which are going to be in this purple yarn. Now you can see this yarn is going to get a little candy caned up like that as you go, and that's totally normal. A great way to help fix that, you can pull a loop out and you can grab the 2 colors and just hold it up and it'll spin and untangle itself. Okay, So let's continue, and I'll do my last repeat of 5 single crochets, pull through with brown, switch over to purple, and pull through with purple. Switch over to brown, pull through, purple, pull through, brown. It's really important that you keep doing this technique in the same spinning technique here so that it locks it in the back in the same way for every stitch so it becomes consistent. Okay, one more single crochet, and then the last one is going to be our increase. Here's our last stitch right here. We're going to do an increase into this last one, switch over to brown, pull through, turn over. There's our first single crochet with, and let's do one more in the same stitch right here for our last increase. And we're going to pull through with our purple like that. Okay, that's going to be the end of round 10. Now, if you are continuing in all the same color and you didn't do these weird color changes, then for this next round, you don't need to do this beginning part, which is going to change us back so that we have brown color for the rest of the piece. But and you don't need to also work into the back loops only, which I am going to be doing for this next round because of my purple here to make an even more crisp line. So what does that mean? Okay, so first off, for our color change people out there, we're going to start by slip stitching into the next stitch in our purple under both loops, yarn over, pull through with purple, and pull through with purple like that, and then switch over to brown, yarn over, and chain 1 with brown like that. Okay, now we are continually going to go in all brown for the next round. But in this next round, for all brown, you're going to work only in the back loops only for all the stitches that are purple. So any stitch here that is purple, we're going to work into these back loops only. Starting in the same stitch that you slip stitched into, you're going to work only in the back loops. Now again, if you are working and you didn't change colors, then you just need to continue as if nothing weird is happening. You can just single crochet into both loops and continue the pattern. Now this next round's pattern is it's very similar to the last round. This time we're going to be doing 6 single crochets and then an increase repeated 3 times in a row. So just like the last round, but we're doing an additional single crochet between increases. So let's do it now. Now I'm going to be doing only in the back loops for the purple yarn. So here's our first stitch, the one that we did our slip stitch into. Go into that back loop only, yarn over with brown, pull through, and yarn over and pull through both with brown. Now you just need to work around the first stitch around the purple, and then we can cut it close. And we don't need to worry about that anymore. We can actually pull the purple all the way out. We'll be using this purple again to when I show you how to add this stripe by embroidering it on instead of doing the color changes. But again, this round is 6 single crochets and then an increase. We go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Remember, I'm working into the back loops only for all these stitches, for all the stitches that are worked into purple. And then here's our next increase. There's 1 and 2. Now we're going to repeat that process 3 times total, so 6 single crochets, then an increase repeated around. Now this next stitch is purple, so I'm going to work into the back loop only and do 1. And then these next 3 stitches are brown, so we can work under both loops for these brown stitches. There's 2 single crochets, 3, 4. Now we're going to work back into the back loops only because these stitches are purple. It's going to be 5 and 6 single crochets, and then an increase into the next one right here. 1, 2. And then one more repeat of that, 6 single crochets, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. And then our last increase into back loop only, 1 and 2. Now you should have 24 stitches around at the end of this round. And this is the end of this round. Okay, Now for our rest of pieces here, we can just keep working into both, we don't need to do our slip stitch thing to connect if we don't want to anymore. So yeah. Okay, so now for our last round, we're going to be working into the front loops only, meaning these ones closest to your stitch right here. Into the front loops only, we're going to work all of our stitches into that one. Now we'll do a single crochet into the first one, and then we're going to do a half double crochet into the remainder of them all the way around. So single crochet into this first one right here. So take your crochet hook, go into the front loop only right there, do one single crochet like that. See, we're only in the front loop only. Now we're going to do half double crochets for the remainder of the stitches. That's going to be 23 half double crochets total. For a half double crochet, we're going to yarn over, go into the next stitch right here, front loop only, yarn over, pull through that stitch, then yarn over and pull through all 3 loops on the hook for a half double crochet. There's our first one. Now let's do another one right here. Yarn over, into the stitch, front loop only, yarn over again, pull through, yarn over, and pull through all 3 loops for a half double crochet. So I'm just going to keep doing that all the way around. And if you're watching this and you're like, man, he goes really slow. I was trying to go really slow for this video so that people that are beginners can get a lot of extra help. If you want to see me crochet really quick, then check out my live stream crochet alongs that I do every week, where I make a new pattern from our library every single week with you, and you can see how quickly I crochet. I go very, very fast when I know the pattern totally. But I hope you're not too dissuaded by my speed of crochet. I know that I'm going really slowly for this video. And thank you again for watching, liking, subscribing, you know, all that fun jazz. All right, so I'm coming up to the end of my round here. Just a sec. Just a few more half double crochets. And these half double crochets are going to create our brim of our hat and make it really fanned out. Okay, one. Okay, just a couple more. There's one, and here's our last half double crochet, 2. Okay. Now, to finish this piece up for our last part, we're going to do a single crochet into both loops of the next stitch. So here is our next stitch, our first single crochet that we made in our last round. We're just going to do a single crochet into that one. And then we can cut our yarn. Leave as long of an end as you want. You might want an extra long end for sewing onto the head if you're sewing it onto a witch or something. But I'm not going to be sewing it onto any head, so I don't need a very long end. So that's probably good for me. I'm just going to pull it all the way through. Oh, I'm sorry. I totally forgot. I was supposed to do a slip stitch. Whoopsies. Okay. Let me fix this. So I'm going to pull this yarn out. I'll show you how to fix this. So I'm just going to pull it out and pretend that didn't just happen. Get my crochet hook back in there. And I'm so sorry. The next stitch is going to be a slip stitch. So let me pull through like that. And the next stitch, we're going to go under both loops like this, yarn over, pull through, and then pull through the loop on the hook for a slip stitch like that. And then pull through, cut and pull through. I'm so sorry. If you messed that up, I'm so terribly sorry about that. I hope you didn't cut too quick. Okay, so now the last thing that I want to do is do a hidden end using this end of yarn. So I'm going to thread it onto our needle. And I'll go into the back of the next stitch right here. So under both of these loops, through the back of it. And then I'm going to come back down and go through where this loop is coming out. So into the center, right where that loop's coming out. We're just going to hide it into the back of our stitches under just a few of them. 1, 2. I'm just kind of like getting my crochet hook under as many of those as I can. Just going to pull it, and you don't want to pull it too tight. You want it to be to replicate these ends. So this is the one right here. So I'm just going to try to pull it so that it mimics the top of the rest of our stitches to make a as hidden as possible end. And then to finish it up, you can just cut it pretty close on the inside like that. Throw that to the side, and you have a witch hat. Now let me pull out all of our stitch markers here. Like so. There we go. Kind of tweak it a little bit. But there we go, we have our witch hat. Now the last thing that I want to do is I want to add our buckle onto the top of our witch hat and show you how to add a stripe around the outside without doing our color changes. So first, let's start with the buckle, and I'll do the buckle on both of our hats here so you can see. So you're going to need some gold yarn for this, or whatever color you want to use for your buckle. That's not enough. Let's use a little bit more. That should work. We'll just cut a little bit of our gold yarn out. And we can thread it onto our needle. And let's start with the one where I've made our stripe. For this, you can go right under where the stripe ends right here. Okay, make sure you're going into the back right like that. Pull out. We're just going to go a few stitches up. Let's go 1, 2 stitches up. Go across 2 stitches, 1, 2, like that. Pull through. We're going to go back down through where you came in, right here, and come out through where you came out, like that. And then do it down 2 stitches, so 1, 2, right here. And come out through the last end right here where you started. And then we're going to go back across and come through where you went in like that to make a little square that you crocheted around. There we go. And that creates a little buckle. And then we can take these 2 ends on the inside and we can double knot them. You can also hide the ends if you're really worried about it. I usually don't really care too much. I like to just double knot it and call it quits. But you can do whatever you want there if you really want to hide the end. Just 1. And a double knot 2. But I'll go ahead and just cut it close. Ignore it. It'll be on the inside of the hat anyhow, so I don't really care too much. But there we go. We have a finished witch hat with our color changes there, ready to go on any kind of witchy witch. Now we'll put this down right here. And on this next one, we're going to do the same kind of thing. So you want to find at least your center, like as close to your center as possible. This will indicate your center. And we're going to start by making the buckle pretty much exactly how we made the buckle in that last one. Go in somewhere, again, wherever you decide is going to be the center. We're going to go up a few rounds, 1, 2, across a few rounds, 1, 2, then back, oh, let's get a little bit extra yarn there, back down through that same stitch and out through the stitch over, then down, 1, 2, and then across where you started, and then back down through that last end. We'll double knot these 2 on the inside, just like how I did before. And again, you can hide these ends if you would like to hide them and you're a little worried about the yarn showing through. Okay, so there's how you make the buckle. And the very last thing I want to show you is how to add the stripe without doing your color changes. So let's grab a little bit extra of your purple yarn, like that much probably. Cut it close. Now I've done this a few different ways. You can pretty much kind of like freestyle this sometimes too. I know I have, but I'll show you how I have done it most recently. So the first thing to do is come out through where the end of that buckle is, right here, one side of the buckle. Now, well, yeah, that's fine. So just out through one side of the buckle, leave a little bit of an end, and we're just going to go all the way around your piece and in through the other side of the buckle right here, like that. And then I'm going to go, actually, I'll work around the other way around. So let's first start by pulling through the inside there. Okay, and that's going to be where the brim of the, where the stripe is going to go. But we want to lock it down into place. You can also like try to glue it on there if you want to, but I found the best way is just go a few stitches around. I'll just go like here. I'm going to try to make it into the same round as where that stripe is, and come out through a stitch. Pull it through. Try not to pull it too tight. That's fine. And then I'm going to go around our stripe, back into the piece in the same stitch, and then go a few stitches over and come out through another part. This should be on the back. And this is going to help lock down it in place. So see, that's one. We're going to do the same thing right here. Go around the stripe, back into the same stitch, few more stitches over. Let's go right there. Like that. And then the last one through the top, in through the same space. Okay, so you see how it kind of holds that stripe down. And then the last bit is take these two purple ends and double knot them together. Now the problem with this technique is it does create this like weird little purple thing on the inside, but whatever. It's not that big of a deal. It still fits on the head of pretty much anything. And just try not to double knot it too tightly, because it will like pull the whole hat in if you double knot it too tightly. So try not to go too tight with your double knot, like that. We'll cut it somewhat close, but that's fine. Again, this is on the inside, so I don't really care too much about that, but it is finished. And now we have our second witch hat done. So many witch hats. Let's grab a little ghost to put this on. By the way, this ghost pattern is available at clubcrochet.com/ghost. It's totally free if you want to check out that pattern. It's great for beginners if you are one. And there we go. Now we have another witch hat done. And that's going to be how to crochet a witch hat. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you like it, please like the video down below, subscribe to the channel, and hit that little bell icon so you get notified when we do our live streams. And if you want to check out more hat patterns, you can check them out. I'll put them on screen somewhere, but you can find them at just clubcrochet.com/hat. We have a little top hat. We've got our little chef hat. I really love the chef hat a lot, actually. But my absolute favorite is our pirate hat. And this is actually a burb. These are secret birds in disguise as other birds. This is a seagull. Those patterns are also on the website, as are these octopi. But I love the pirate hat. I think it's so cool. All right, well, thank you again for watching. Pasta la pizza, happy hooking. Check out my other Halloween patterns at clubcrochet.com/Halloween. Thanks for watching, and have a great day. That's my best witch impression. I know it's not great. Okay, bye.